we have Marian Johnson from the Ministry of Awesome. For those of you who don't know, Ministry of Awesome, it's an innovative organisation here in Otatahi, Christchurch, that helps startups to find their feet and accelerate. Marian's hosting a panel about startups and their challenges with 5 women founders. Those are Madeleine Patel from SpeakScents, Gina Urlich from Norish, Kitti Bradley from Mothertrucking, Nicole Gaviria from Lulah Collective, and Leila DaCosta from Hale Animal. Welcome to you all.
Morning, kia ora. I'm just looking to see if I can see my little cohort here. Leila, are you here?
Yep, I'm on the call. Hi, everyone.
Okay, and let's see. Madeleine, are you here?
Yep, I'm here.
And Kitti.
Yep.
Awesome. And then finally, Nicole.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. I feel like I've just seen you all pretty much as of last night. Just for everyone's information, we had a really cool Electrify investor showcase with 6 of the founders who came through the Electrify Accelerator on our very first MVP of a online investor showcase to angel investors in New Zealand. And we're just now counting up forms and getting information through from people who are interested in investing in these incredible founders who were featured. But I'm jumping ahead. First of all, tēnā koutou katoa, ko Marian Johnson, toku inua. I'm the Chief Exec at Ministry of Awesome, and per the intro in the very beginning, I'm really honored to be here today, chatting to you all into this fantastic group of women founders. So Ministry of Awesome is a startup hub. We're located in Christchurch, and we run a national program of an incubator and accelerators. And we're also incredibly committed to driving diversity, specifically for women founders in the New Zealand startup ecosystem, where I'm sure you've had this figure drummed in 1,000 times, but where 4 out of 5 teams are all male startup teams. And since 83% of venture capital in the world is going to all male startup teams, it pretty much means that our future is being created by men. And so that's why we are really adamant about driving that diversity, making sure that New Zealand doesn't follow in those footsteps. That's where we are right now, but we can improve it quite dramatically. And what it takes is some really strong, inspiring role models, like some of these founders here today, some support for those founders who are coming through the system, getting more women onto investor committees, et cetera, et cetera. So today the topic is to talk to some of these really early stage women founders. And so I'm joined by Leila DaCosta, who is the founder of Hale Animal, by Kitti Bradley, who is the founder of Mothertrucking, with Madeleine, who is the founder of Madeleine Patel, who is the founder of SpeakScents, and Nicole, I so mispronounced your name last night, and I'm afraid now, Gaviria, who is the founder of Lulah Collective. Considering we've worked together for about a year now, I don't know why I haven't nailed your last name. I just never use it. So I have a whole bunch of questions that I was going to take through this panel through, and then I suppose it's over to everyone and anyone who wants to be part of the conversation to just pop some questions into chat, or maybe we'll do it in an even more informal way, since I seem incapable of driving Zoom when I'm on it. All right, so we'll start from the very top. I would really like to, first of all, hand over to each person that we're talking today, each of the founders, to just quickly introduce themselves. Nicole, since you're in the middle of my screen right now, can we start with you? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your venture?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, kia ora everyone. My name's Nicole Gaviria. I've just married into a Colombian family, so Gaviria, I'm still struggling with it too. Yeah, so I launched my very first startup. I'm the first in my family to build a biz. So it's been a big journey of convincing people in my life that this is something that can be done. You can see here I've actually snuck away. I work at a local NGO here in Christchurch. I'm a therapist by trade, but I'm attempting to build my very first biz, which is a plus size activewear brand. The reason that I've done this is from experience as a plus size woman and yoga teacher, always find things that fit. And I also hear from my clients here, I work with women around body image and eating disorders, and they really struggle with the fashion and fitness industries. So yeah, trying to shape up that space for my clients and for that past version of me.
Thank you, Nicole. And Kitti, can I hand over to you? Kitti, would you mind introducing yourself and just telling everyone a little bit about your venture?
Sure. Tēnā koutou. I'm Kitti, the co-founder of Mothertrucking. Our platform specializes in streamlining resource management and dispatch management for SMEs in heavy haulage and lifting and shifting. Thanks for letting me join you today.
Thank you, Kitti. And Leila, I'm going to hand over to you. Would you mind doing the same? Quick intro and a little bit about your venture?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Leila DaCosta. I'm the founder and CEO of Hale Animal Health. At Hale, we are currently developing what we think will be one of the world's first registered veterinary medicines derived from cannabis to treat pain in dogs that are suffering from arthritis and other conditions. And what inspired me to start this business was actually my own dog, who has sadly since passed away, but she was the original inspiration as she started to get a bit older, and she developed some arthritis, but she also had a liver condition, and so she was unable to take the traditional medications that are usually prescribed, which are very taxing on the liver and organs and things like that. And so that just sparked a real interest and passion to go down this path. And yeah, we're partway through the development of our product at the moment.
Thanks, Leila. And then lastly, but not leastly, Madeleine, would you mind doing a quick intro?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of SpeakScents alongside my husband, Ankit Patel. And SpeakScents is an online platform providing AI-driven personalized fragrance recommendations to our own range of perfumes and also soon to be existing products. And so we had this idea around fragrance not being disrupted for a really long time and the buying experience going into a store being really crap. I had that experience myself and was also working in the space of looking at predictive algorithms being used to improve shopping behaviors and people's buying behaviors. So we combine those two areas to come up with where we're at the moment. We've only been going in market for about a year. I've been working on the proposition for about 2 years. Thanks.
Thanks very much, you guys. So I'm going to start off with the first question, which is all around entrepreneurship and the challenge for women. Do you think there are any specific obstacles that you've had to deal with as a woman founder? And if you do think there are, how did you manage to navigate them? I'm gonna ask the question directly to Madeleine and Kitti, but anyone else could join in and add to the response if you like. So Madeleine, do you want to take it away since you're on the screen first?
Yeah,
so
sure.
Question is challenges specifically for women and how you dealt with them.
Yeah, well, not wanting to cross over to one of the other questions I'm sure will be asked around funding, but I definitely think raising funding as a female has been specifically challenging. I've just in the middle of opening a raise at the moment, but we've raised a really small convertible round earlier to get the business off the ground. And I had a lot of different challenges around that, mainly around people trying to understand exactly what we were doing, but also quite niche examples of how we were, I guess, approached as a founding couple with a husband and wife team as well. And I had one specific example where we pitched at an angel event and I was being asked a lot of questions afterwards in a networking event and quite clearly sort of leading that conversation. And then on 2 occasions, the business card was passed to my husband standing next to me who had offered kind of very difficult answers to those questions. And he, credit to him, said, "Oh, I think you need to give this to Madeleine." And that person was quite embarrassed, but it was quite a distinct example that stuck with me for a long time in terms of how we're often approached. And I don't know what the answer to that is. I think perhaps just more females in the ecosystem and just sort of leveling up the playing field, as Marian's alluded to. But also, I guess, just in the way that and I'm sure we'll talk about this more, females answer a lot of the questions that they get during the funding kind of process, and how those questions are even asked as being quite different as a female, in terms of females, I guess, and myself definitely wanting to kind of perhaps answer the question and provide more rationale as to why something's definitely going to go right, and perhaps a male being a little bit more overt with his response, or being asked the question in a way that's not looking at perhaps the negatives or the downside of the opportunity. And then I think the other massive challenge I've faced quite recently, and this is something quite dear to me at the moment, I've got an 8-week-old baby, so going through launching the business pretty much at the same time as finding out I was pregnant has been a very unique challenge, and one that I was completely underprepared for. And that's been really interesting, particularly in the way that the support has been offered, or perhaps has not been offered, for females going through the process of mat leave, or having a baby while in their early startup phase. And I think there's potentially a massive gap between women in their, say, mid-20s to, let's say, mid-30s or a bit later, perhaps for this reason, that it's really, really, really challenging. I'm sure other people have experienced this far more than me, but to raise a child or to have a family while also be, particularly in the early stages of a startup where you can't necessarily bring on a lot of extra support. And we had quite different responses, again, when talking to investors while being pregnant. Our current investor was incredibly supportive. He's an older, let's say, white male in his 70s, but he was extremely supportive and really positive about the experience, and continues to be. Whereas I've had some really different experiences with other investors who I thought would be quite supportive of the state we were in, or the stage I was in. So that's probably a big topic to delve into, but I just think there's not a lot of support, as there is with PAYE type employees, for women in startups, going through raising a family or having a baby, and that's such a pivotal moment for a lot of women in that age bracket.
Absolutely. And we heard from Electrify Aotearoa in the panel that I believe it was Anna and Jenny and Teresa, and we're talking about specific questions that were asked to women founders at the investment point, where one person had said that it was a regular question, what happens when you get pregnant? What happens to this investment when you get pregnant? And how in our view, that's not a question. Do you ask that to male founders? This is whatever happens, the same for both. But is kind of the response for the investor, but the question shouldn't even really come up. In any case, thanks, Madeleine, for your response to that question. Kitti, is there anything that you'd like to add to that theme around is entrepreneurship is hard already? We all know that. Is it harder for women? And are there any specific obstacles that you've had to overcome as a woman founder?
So I quite often struggle with this question, because I feel there are a lot of different groups of people that have extra obstacles to overcome. But yeah, women make up a large part of the population, and if we're all having the same issues, then a large part of the population is having trouble. They're having more obstacles than our male counterparts, but when I founded my first company, it was in Europe, and I just assumed that the reactions that I was getting was because I was young and because I was foreign. I didn't necessarily relate them to being a female. But now I'm older and have set up this Mothertrucking. There are a lot of similarities in the issues that have been raised, the obstacles I've had to overcome. I've been specifically told that I'm young, unmarried, and a female that doesn't have children. So statistically, even though I've got a profitable business, they won't give me a business loan. And I'm like, well, you can't change the statistics if you don't give people like me a chance. So I think that does happen quite often. Yeah, I would say that's my main obstacle. I mean, everybody struggles with the go clean the dishwasher. The dishwasher's been finished. Go finish it. And you're like, you can do it too. But I think everybody experiences that. That's not just entrepreneurs. So yeah, I agree with Madeleine around funding. That's definitely an issue. Yeah.
Thanks, Kitti. Anyone else from the cohort want to respond to that, or shall we just move on to the next question? No? Okay. And all right then, I guess we'll throw open to a free-for-all comment Q&A at the end of this session. I'll just move on, but if anybody is feeling stifled, can you just put your hand up? I don't mean to stifle conversation. All right, so then my next question for you is, and this one is aimed directly at Leila. What strategies did you use to secure funding for your startup? And what advice do you have for women entrepreneurs looking to raise capital?
Yeah, so my strategies for raising capital, and we're just about to close our raise in the next, by the end of this month, hopefully. So I started off with the shotgun approach, kind of just going wide and kind of contacting all of the potential, angel groups and VCs and things. But I then sort of learned throughout the process that actually it's better to kind of do your research in advance and find who's going to be the best fit for your particular business and the stage that you're at, because this was the first raise that I had kind of led myself, and I wasn't really sure with the ins and outs of how it worked, and the particulars of different VCs having very different mandates and boxes that they need to check and things like that. So yeah, I think doing that research in advance and finding who's going to be that best fit, so that you're then able to tailor your IM or your pitch deck and able to tailor your kind of pitch to that audience and knowing what it is that they're looking for. I think too, also being prepared to evolve throughout the process. So the process certainly took me a lot longer than what I was expecting. The amount of times that I reworked my pitch deck or reworked my IM, and actually reworked my business strategy to some degree as well. So just kind of really listening to what investors were saying, what they were looking for, what parts of the business were really appealing and were being viewed as potential for high growth and generating a lot of value, and what parts of the business weren't necessarily that kind of shiny and attractive. And actually kind of listening to that collective feedback has helped me to kind of reshape the strategy of where we're going a bit, and for the better as well, I think. So always ask for feedback from those presentations, because often it's super helpful. And then the final thing I would say is just networking as well. So it is definitely 100% all about who you know. And so just attend all of the events, take up all of the offers for introductions or for coffee chats, even if they're with people from VCs and things that you know that you're not a fit for. Take up the opportunity to have a coffee with that person and have a chat, because more often than not, that leads to an introduction. Oh, you should speak to such and such, or I'll connect you with so and so. And normally those introductions are where you then get those really meaningful connections, and then things start to happen. So definitely the networking and the building those relationships and that network, I would say, well in advance of when you actually need the capital as well, because it all just really does take time. And building those relationships is a huge part of it. So yeah, I think those would be my key outtakes from going through this process currently.
Those are excellent comments, Leila. And I know this has been a journey for you. It's not like it's been super straightforward. Like you got out of the gate and you followed a path and it was 1, 2, 3, raised. It's been serpentine, and it is serpentine for so many startup founders, and this is a really difficult funding environment as well. But I would really underline the comment that you've made just at the end around networking. One of the things that we really do very early on in our incubator and our accelerator programs, and with anyone in general, any founder at all, that I happen to be lucky enough to connect with. Network is everything. And if you look at Startup Genome, who are the only group around they're not the only one, there's probably 2, Startup Blink and Startup Genome, but Startup Genome measure startup ecosystems all around the world, and they've codified the process for successful startup growth. And what they have found is that founders who are well networked into an ecosystem and have really strong relationships with those across the ecosystem are 2.6 times more likely to succeed, 2.6 times more likely. And that is why you need to get out of your bedroom. That is why you need to get out of your garage. That is why you need to sit in a space with other people, because those accidental conversations that you have when you're like throwing your mug into the dishwasher at the startup hub or the co-working space or whatever, those are the ones that could potentially fuel you forward. And you know what? I am the superest, most shy, horrible person in a large event. I really can't network for anything, but you got to go. You got to go. You got to do it. You've got to meet people and remember that everyone else feels probably exactly the same as you. It's just really going to propel you forward in terms of your success. So yeah, great comment there, Leila. And also always meet people before you need them. You know,
Yes,
just
absolutely.
be your good self and give before you get, because it will come back to you. All right, anyone else in the cohort want to respond or ask or answer that question? Anyone has anything burning? Yeah, great,
I wanted
Kitti.
to say around secure funding, think outside the box. You don't always need to look for investors. You can also hustle on the side, do consulting work, try and bootstrap as long as you can, because you want your company to be in a good financial position before you start giving away equity as well. And I think that's, especially if you've got a SaaS product, it's a bit easier than if you've got a physical product that you need to do research on, like Leila. But yeah, just remember that you can bootstrap and that's okay.
I totally agree with that, Kitti. And we had a lot of feedback recently, especially with our incubator, I think, and from the last accelerator, that a lot of founders see this kind of underlining of raising capital as almost pushing to investors. Not at all. It's just that if you're raising capital, this is one possible stream, but perhaps we need to spend a little bit more time thinking about those other streams, and the non-dilutive funding and what you might be able to do. Generally, though, if you are a high growth startup and you're aiming global from day one, you're going to need to get a lot of capital in to make it happen, depending on, you know, your business. But generally, that is what's going to happen. But totally bootstrap until you can no longer bootstrap, and then go get some money and on your terms. Thanks, Kitti, for that comment. All right then. So I have a question for you, Nicole. Have you had mentors or role models who have influenced your entrepreneurial journey? And how important is it for women founders to have access to mentorship and support networks?
Incredibly important. So I noted when I came on at the start that I'm the first founder in my family. None of my friends or family have ever started this journey of building a business. You know, we've all gone for the standard of you go to uni, you pick a career, that's what you do. And I have done that. But I've also decided that I want to take my work outside of the therapy room by launching a business. And that scared a lot of the people around me. I haven't had a lot of support. And so when I did launch my business, it was incredibly isolated. I felt lonely, I felt anxious, and luckily I stumbled across MOA and the accelerator program, got in there and was surrounded by other women who were choosing to do life a little bit differently. And for me, that was profound. It was really validating. I felt safe. I felt that maybe I could do this. Yeah, so I kind of feel like the accelerator program, the mentoring programs has been a real safety net for me and a compass as well. So it gives you the opportunity to explore a new way of life, a new kind of, it's a new hat that I've decided to put on, really, a new version of me that I'm stepping into. And I can't do it alone. And that's something that I've recognized this year. So it's been incredibly valuable. And I think the business mentoring, along with just having my peers beside me, the mentoring has been important because I don't know what I don't know. I'm totally new to business. I'm totally new to fashion. So yeah, it has been hard to sometimes find mentors who are a good match for me. I've had experiences, good ones and bad ones, with mentors. It's not been uncommon to be ghosted by a mentor, which is always a little bit heartbreaking, but sometimes I have managed to find a mentor who's really gone to bat for me. And like was said previously, when you get these opportunities to network, I can be a bit shy. So doing things like this is outside of my comfort zone, but all of the most traction that I've had for my business has been from just having real conversations with people like you guys, who's then connected me to someone else, who's then connected me to someone else. And you never know where things are going to go. So yeah, I think that the best opportunity for us women is, you know, we women, we're very collective, we're tribal, we love to talk, we love to be together, we love to build community. So yeah, really bank on what's around us and the skills that we have amongst us women.
Thanks, Nicole. You're getting a lot of comments, a lot of love here. People really engaging with, you know, and agreeing with what you know, some of the themes that you're bringing up there. I wanted to note before we moved on that there was a comment here about how someone loved the fact that motherhood was part of this conversation. And I mean, all of the founders who are here are not going through motherhood, but they may at some stage, and women founders generally will be at some stage getting those questions and thinking around these themes. And I think one of the coolest things about our environment now, and particularly as a startup founder, is a lot of startup founders, women startup founders, begin when motherhood is there, because they're thinking, I want to do life differently on my own terms. I want to build this flexibility. And but I think it's really interesting how we don't have to hide this anymore. And I think this is really something that I really want to talk to. At Electrify Aotearoa, one of the coolest things that I saw, and something that was remarked quite a lot on, was the fact that there were women with their children at the conference. This was a business conference, and that was totally fine. Anna Gunther was on the stage with a baby strapped to her chest, presenting and being part of a panel. And all this kind of stuff is stuff that used to get hidden away, like just don't even mention the children because you won't be taken seriously. And that's just totally unsustainable. So I love the fact that this is happening. And of course, motherhood is part of this conversation. It absolutely has to be, because these are challenges that women founders will very likely have to navigate through at some stage while building their venture. So all support and love to that as a theme and topic. It shouldn't be off the table or hidden away. All right. Now, this question is for you, Madeleine. And I'm asking you this question because you're also dealing with that whole work-life balance thing right now, and maintaining work-life balance is challenging for entrepreneurs, no matter whether you're no matter what your gender is. How do you manage this balance, and what advice do you have for women who are aspiring entrepreneurs and are concerned about that work-life balance? So Madeleine, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's such a big question. I think I'd just start by saying that in a previous life, I've absolutely sucked at work-life balance. I worked in advertising, and that concept sort of wasn't one that it really existed. And it was something that I really wanted to change in starting my own startup. And I definitely haven't solved it by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm always looking for advice on this myself. But I think that the problem with the word work-life balance is it assumes that there is work and there is life, and those two things are separate. And I think where I'm at now is kind of trying to embrace the word integration into my life a bit more, and sort of coming to terms with, I guess, that firstly, you don't have to balance these things. And I think if you're always chasing that balance, perhaps you will never quite reach it. So that's perhaps a problem. And so the idea of integration, I guess, is yeah, that my baby will, like Anna had at Electrify, come to, we've got a pitch event in a couple of weeks. He'll be coming along to that because that's sort of what I need to do at the moment. And yeah, those two sort of areas of my life very much need to be simultaneous. You know, writing notes at 3 a.m. while feeding, or doing things on different time schedules. And I don't think being a startup founder, you obviously you ever work, you know, a 9-to-5 workday. You're always thinking, you're always doing different things at different times as well. So I don't think that concept of work-life balance necessarily works for being a startup founder. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think the thing that is really important, though, is to top up your own cup and kind of look for things that bring you joy outside of just thinking about your startup or your business, whatever that might be, whether that's exercise or listening or reading to different things. I tend to sort of err on the side of being quite into the topics that I am looking at for my business, though. So for me, those things that bring me joy tend to be podcasts around areas that I'm sort of thinking about with the business anyway. And I think that's okay. I think for a while I tried to sort of shut that out and go, no, I need to get this work-life balance thing happening and working a bit more in my life. And now I'm sort of a bit more open to going, hey, that's actually what lights me up and what, you know, inspires me still. So that's what I'm going to do. And that makes me happy. And that's the main thing, really.
Yeah. I mean, balance doesn't mean you need to have 20% of your week be yoga, does it?
Yeah, yeah,
It's balance, whatever recharges your batteries, right?
yeah, 100%.
Pretty, I suppose, what you need to look at it, because batteries need to be recharged. I actually have a really fab question from Dennis here, and I'm going to interrupt my canned agenda by asking Dennis's questions. Dennis has said, as one of the few guys listening, this is a wonderful conversation. I'm keen to know how guys can be more supportive of women entrepreneurs. I'm going to throw it out to any and all of Kitti, Madeleine, Nicole. I don't know if you guys have saw the message, but Gina had to leave because she had a screaming baby. Sorry, Gina couldn't be with us today because her daughter has a stomach flu, and Leila's had to go because she had a screaming baby. So that leaves us with Madeleine and Nicole and Kitti to potentially respond to Dennis's question. How can guys be more supportive of women entrepreneurs?
I can start that if that's okay. I think, as I said earlier, we've had lots of different reactions to what we're doing from different, I guess, demographics or different men, I guess, in our raising journey and our startup journey. And I think we had quite predetermined views of what males might think of what we were doing as well, particularly around age. You know, older males we thought wouldn't really understand what I was trying to do around having a baby and you know, starting my business. And I thought some guys would have a much more open view who actually didn't. So I think perhaps just being really supportive and open mainly to the way that females want to run their business, whether there's, I'm sorry, I'm focusing so much on child, but that's quite a big part of my life, but being really open and supportive to how women want to run their business, regardless of their stage in life and how that might look for them. I don't think there's a predetermined kind of way of going hard and really pushing and you know, running as hard as you can till you break necessarily anymore in both genders with female and male founded businesses. But I think particularly from males, there's sometimes still an opinion that that is the best way to achieve success, to really go as hard as you can and work around the clock. And I heard actually from on a call not that long ago about this idea that in the States, you know, you're hustling so hard, and in New Zealand perhaps the hustle culture isn't there so much, and that's perhaps why New Zealand companies aren't, you know, reaching the same heights as US companies. And it really jarred me and really stuck with me. And I'm not saying all men necessarily have that view at all, but I'm saying perhaps there is slightly more of a review from men to push really, really hard. I don't know if that answered the question.
Well, I think it's about approach, right? Which is an interesting theme that you've brought up, because that is that whole kind of startup bro culture piece, which is around, you know, everyone codes and codes and codes until 3 a.m, and then you order pizza, and then you play foosball, and then you keep coding, you know. But I think, you know, when we talk about this, and we talk about mental health for founders, which is obviously you know, squarely in the public eye at the moment. As we all know, Callahan has created this really new awesome support system for founders across New Zealand, whether you're part of their program or not part of their program, and they're addressing it. So mental health for high growth startup founders and for entrepreneurs in general it's really hard. You never ever leave it behind. And so taking that bro culture and saying that that's the only way to do it, I think that's a real, it's consciously something that you want to think about. Do you really want to accept that? And if that's how, you know, the men in your life in terms of investors and so on are dealing with it and saying, well, hang on a minute, why have you left the office at 5:15? Madeleine, you can't be that serious. I guess that's an answer for Dennis. Let's not subscribe to only one way of building a startup, which comes, you know, from the Valley, really, and from TV. So perhaps Nicole or Kitti, have you got a response for Dennis? I mean, what are the things that you found yourself from the men in your life, regardless of their relationship with you, in terms of being able to support you better as a founder?
Oh, sorry, do you want to go, Nicole?
I guess I'd like to just take a quick note on that bro culture mentality. Is well, the men in my own life have been beautiful and wonderfully supportive. But on the bro culture note, is I've had a lot of people in the startup ecosystem question my commitment to building my business, So like I said, I'm still working full time in my counselling role. I've also been completing my master's this year, and a few people have said, oh, you can't really care about your business truly because you're still working in your day job. And I really feel like it's a privilege to be able to dedicate your time and your energy fully to your startup. It's not a privilege that I have or that me and my hubby have for me to step away from a steady paycheck. I'm gutted about that, but yeah, I feel like that bro mentality of if you're not working 24/7 just on your startup, then you don't truly care about your business is a bit bullshit, to be honest. And it's really harmful because if I were to step away from my job, it's not just me it impacts, it's my home, it's my husband, it's really not fair on him. So yeah, I think it can be a bit toxic, that Silicon Valley bro culture.
I would take it from a slightly different point of view to like a bit more pragmatic, in the sense of if you see a female colleague struggling with an obstacle, for example, start brainstorming with them how they can overcome it, and if there's something that you can do to help them get around the obstacle, which I've been lucky enough that there have been men in my life that are like, okay, how can we resolve this problem, because you're just going to keep butting your head against a brick wall if you do it this way. And it helps raise awareness for them, struggles that they didn't think that you actually have to go through. So then they become more aware of it as well in their daily life, with their career, or with their family, with their friends, with their daughters. So yeah, just really addressing obstacles as they come up and be open to have that conversation.
Thanks, Kitti. I also think if I could just add something there, I think it's for everybody who's on this call, not just men, but just clock your own assumptions, right? Clock your assumptions. What does the startup founder look like? If you're on an investor committee, you probably have an idea. Close your eyes. They're probably wearing a hoodie and have headphones, and they're probably a guy. So think again. What does a startup founder look like? And all of those different assumptions that come from someone being taken seriously, someone being credible, someone being supportive, all that sort of stuff. Is there an assumption that's attached to it? That'd probably be my top tip. All right, Dennis, thank you for that question. So what are you most proud of in terms of your company's success and achievements? Kitti, since you're on my screen now, this is our wrap-up question. What are you most proud of in terms of your company's success and achievements for Mothertrucking?
Again, a question I always struggle with. I guess I'm really proud that we have a brand that people love, and about how much we've learned over the last 8 months, and our ability to just keep rapidly iterating to make our platform as good as it can be. Yeah, that would be it for me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kitti. Nicole, over to you.
Oh, I guess kind of similar is I'm really proud. We launched in February, that we've gathered up a community of amazing plus size women here in New Zealand and Australia who really want to go on a journey with redefining their relationship with their bodies. And we're not just trying to flog off some stretchy pants. We're trying to create a movement and create some change. And it's happening. It's really, really happening. And so, yeah, I'm just stoked to be making some change.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. And what about yourself, Madeleine?
Yeah, it might sound like setting the bar quite low, but I think a mentor said to me once, it's really hard just to keep showing up. And I thought, geez, that's not great. All I have to do is show up. But I think having a startup is incredibly difficult, as lots of people know. And so to just kind of keep trudging along and keep continuing and keep building momentum, I'm really proud of. There's been some massive challenges in the last 6 to 12 months. So just to kind of keep going and keep trying to find ways through those, I'm really proud of. It's not one specific thing, it's just showing up.
Thanks, Madeleine. So that wraps up all of the canned questions on my agenda. Is there anyone, I mean, I can see the questions coming through. Well, they're not even so much questions here, but just responses and support for our founders and for women founders in general, which is just awesome to see. I can't think of a harder job in the whole wide world than being a startup founder. An entrepreneur never, ever, ever leaves it alone. You know, it's always there with you. And so it's just it's a grueling journey to try to convince the world that this thing that you've created is something that everyone needs. And I'm definitely, everyone at MOA and all of the others in the startup ecosystem are 100% behind you. Thanks everyone for coming along to listen to this session. Thanks to Stephen, to everyone who has contributed to the conference, and hope you all have a lovely rest of the day. And thank you so much, Madeleine and Nicole and Leila and Kitti and the absent Gina, for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Take care of yourselves.
Thanks for having us.
Bye. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who was on that panel. Sorry, a couple of you had to leave, but I think that is actually a testament to the concept of running an inclusive conference that has the ability to change on the fly and let people do what they need to do, and obviously very appropriate to that chat about women founders. I won't name names, but I saw in the middle of that session somebody had a kid come in on camera and play with the ball for a while, and I really love that that's the kind of event we're running. That's flexible, fun, and all welcoming. It's now lunchtime for half an hour, so when you get back at 1 o'clock, you'll have a new MC in this room. That will be the always amazing Erica Austin, so I know that you're in safe hands. Before I go, I'd like to acknowledge, like many people already have today, the mahi of Stephen Moe. He's put in just a massive amount of work to make this conference happen and to bring us all together today. I honestly don't know where he gets the energy to work on all of his different projects that he does while also doing his very challenging day job. But yeah, thanks again for all the wonderful participants who've been in and out of this room this morning. I hope to continue some conversations with you guys here at the conference and in real life. I'd love it if anybody wants to reach out to me. I'm always keen to have a chat or a challenging conversation. So yeah, cheers. E no hora.